Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of the CSS Nightshade, her weathered hands clasped behind her back as she watched the massive Zarkax warships pass by her seemingly defenseless vessel. The Nightshade, disguised as the merchant ship Lucky Wanderer, drifted through space like countless other human trading vessels, or so the Zarkax believed. Status report, she subvocalized, the quantum neural link transmitting her thoughts directly to the bridge crew. "They're scanning us again, Admiral," Lieutenant Park responded silently. "Their energy signatures match previous patterns. They still can't detect our phantom tech." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. For 3 years, humanity had maintained this elaborate deception. While the Zarkax Empire expanded through the galaxy, conquering and uplifting species they deemed primitive, humanity had watched, learned, and prepared. Every seemingly primitive human vessel they encountered was a carefully crafted lie, housing technology that would shatter their understanding of physics. The Zarkax cruiser's scan passed over them again, reading only what humanity wanted them to see: obsolete fusion drives, basic life support systems, and a hull that appeared to be patched together with inferior materials. The perfect picture of a young species taking its first stumbling steps into the cosmos. "Admiral," Commander Rodriguez's thoughts interrupted her contemplation. "We're receiving a priority signal from the Artemis network. The Zarkax just attacked the Nilari colony." Sarah's jaw tightened. The Nilari, a peaceful species of philosophers and artists, had refused to submit to Zarkax authority. Now they would pay the price, just as dozen other species had before them. "Show me," she commanded. The quantum field generators hidden within the Nightshade's hull projected a holographic display visible only to her augmented vision. The footage showed Zarkax warships bombarding Nilari cities with plasma weapons, their standard operating procedure for pacifying resistance. "They're following the same pattern," Lieutenant Park noted, "targeting cultural centers first, then educational institutions. They'll demand surrender within the next 6 hours." Sarah had seen enough. "Signal the fleet. Operation Phantom Dawn begins now." Throughout the sector, dozens of other merchant vessels acknowledged the command. Each ship carried enough firepower to level a small moon, their true nature concealed behind veils of quantum deception that had taken humanity decades to perfect. "Time to show the galaxy that humanity isn't just another species to be conquered," Sarah declared. "Deploy the quantum mesh." Microscopic particles streamed from the Nightshade's hull, invisible to conventional sensors. They formed an intricate web of quantum-entangled nodes, creating a network that would allow the human fleet to coordinate with perfect precision. "Zarkax fleet is maintaining position," Rodriguez reported. "They have no idea we're here." Sarah thought of Earth's history, of countless empires that had underestimated their opponents, of civilizations that had mistaken technological differences for inherent superiority. The Zarkax were about to learn the same lesson. "All ships, initiate phantom protocols," she ordered. "Execute maneuver Theta 9. The merchant vessel disguises began to shift. Quantum fields manipulated light and matter, revealing the true forms of humanity's warships. The Nightshade's innocent exterior melted away, exposing sleek obsidian armor and weapon systems that defied conventional physics. "Ma'am," Park's thoughts carried a note of satisfaction. "Zarkax sensors are going haywire. They're detecting multiple spatial anomalies." "Let them see," Sarah responded. "It's time they learn that humanity has never been primitive. We've been waiting, watching, and preparing. And now, we're ready." The Nightshade's quantum drives hummed to life, propelling the ship forward with impossible grace. Around them, the rest of the human fleet emerged from their disguises, like predators shedding their camouflage. The Zarkax ships, caught completely off guard, began to scatter in disarray. "Target their command vessels," Sarah ordered. "Disable only. Let's show them the difference between their kind of uplifting and true civilization." As the human fleet moved into attack position, Sarah reflected on the years of patience it had taken to reach this moment. Humanity had hidden its true capabilities not out of fear, but because they had learned from their own history. They knew the importance of understanding an enemy before confronting them. The Zarkax were about to discover that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their advanced technology or superior tactics. It was their ability to learn from the past, to plan for the future, and to act with precision when the moment demanded it. All ships, Sarah commanded, execute attack pattern Sierra. Let's introduce ourselves properly to the galaxy. The battle that followed would change the course of galactic history, and it was only the beginning. High Admiral Kexthor of the Zarkax Empire stood frozen on his command bridge, his forearms gripping the tactical console as he watched the impossible unfold before him. Where moments ago had been primitive human merchant vessels, now stood warships of unprecedented sophistication. Their black hulls seemed to drink in the starlight, their very presence distorting the space around them. "Impossible," he breathed, mandibles clicking rapidly in agitation. "Our intelligence reports were exactly what we wanted you to see," a human voice interrupted, cutting across all communication channels. The voice belonged to Admiral Chen, though Kexthor didn't know her name yet. "For years, you've been studying what we wanted you to study, scanning what we wanted you to scan, learning the lessons we wanted you to learn." Kexthor's secondary hearts began beating faster as the implications sank in. Every encounter, every scan, every analysis of human technology, it had all been orchestrated. His fleet of 30 warships, the pride of the Zarkax Empire's third expansion force, suddenly felt terrifyingly inadequate. "All batteries, open fire," he ordered, his voice cracking with barely contained panic. "Launch all fighters. Show these deceptive primitives the true might of the Empire." The space between the fleets erupted with plasma fire and quantum torpedoes. Under normal circumstances, such a barrage would have annihilated any opposition. But these were not normal circumstances. The human ships didn't evade. They didn't raise shields. Instead, the weapons simply passed through them, as if they weren't there at all. "Sensor officer," Kexthor roared. "Explain." "High Admiral," the officer's voice trembled, "we're detecting quantum field fluctuations unlike anything in our database. The ships we're seeing, they're both there and not there. It's as if they exist in multiple states simultaneously." On the bridge of the Nightshade, Sarah Chen watched the Zarkax fleet's futile attack with calm detachment. "Status of the quantum mesh," she inquired. "Fully deployed and functioning at optimal levels," Lieutenant Park reported. "Their weapons are passing through our quantum shadows, while our actual ships maintain perfect positioning. The Zarkax targeting systems can't distinguish between our real locations and the quantum duplicates." Sarah nodded. It was a technology that had taken humanity decades to perfect. The ability to exist in multiple quantum states simultaneously, making it impossible for conventional weapons to land a hit. The Zarkax, for all their supposed superiority, were fighting ghosts. "Signal the Artemis network," she ordered. "Begin Phase 2. Throughout the battlefield, microscopic quantum nodes activated. Space itself seemed to shiver as the human fleet exerted their true technological superiority. The quantum mesh didn't just connect their ships, it allowed them to manipulate the very fabric of space-time. "High Admiral," a Zarkax officer shouted in panic. "Our weapons they're changing course. The humans are bending their trajectory." Kexthor watched in horror as his fleet's own weapons turned back on themselves, guided by invisible forces he couldn't comprehend. The humans hadn't just mastered quantum mechanics, they had learned to weaponize it. "All ships, evasive maneuvers," he commanded, but it was too late. His own torpedoes, their paths altered by the quantum mesh, struck their original ships. Secondary explosions bloomed across his fleet as carefully targeted strikes disabled weapons and engines. On the Nightshade, Commander Rodriguez's voice carried a note of satisfaction. "Enemy fleet is effectively neutralized. Admiral, no casualties on their side. As per your orders, their weapons and propulsion systems are offline." Sarah stood from her command chair, her expression stern. "Open a channel to their flagship. Let's make our position clear." Kexthor's image appeared on the quantum-projected display, his posture rigid with barely contained fury and fear. Before he could speak, Sarah raised her hand. "High Admiral of the Zarkax Empire," she began, her voice carrying the weight of humanity's long-prepared revelation. "For years, your people have traversed the galaxy, judging which species were worthy of uplifting and which deserved subjugation. You operated under the assumption that technological advancement was a linear path, that your understanding of the universe was superior." She paused, letting her words sink in. "Today, you learned differently. What you witnessed wasn't just a demonstration of superior technology. It was a lesson in humility. While you were studying us, categorizing us, deciding our fate, we were studying you, learning your weaknesses, preparing for this moment." The quantum mesh shimmered around them, a visible reminder of how far humanity had advanced beyond the Zarkax's understanding. "Your fleet is disabled, but your crews are unharmed. Consider this mercy, something your empire has rarely shown to others, as a demonstration of true civilization." Kexthor's mandibles twitched, his voice barely controlled. You deceived us, pretended to be primitive. We showed you what you expected to see," Sarah corrected. "Your empire's arrogance did the rest. Now, you have a choice. You can accept that your understanding of the galaxy and its species needs to change, or—" She let the threat hang unspoken as the quantum mesh tightened around the disabled Zarkax fleet. The message was clear. Humanity had been holding back, and they were prepared to do much more if necessary. The battle was over, but the true war, the fight to reshape the galaxy's future, was just beginning. The massive holographic display in the Zarkax High Command Chamber crackled with static as reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Supreme Overlord Vexkar, his ceremonial armor gleaming under the harsh lights, watched with mounting dread as centuries of imperial dominance began to unravel. Another fleet lost contact in the Centauri sector, his intelligence chief reported, voice quavering. "The humans, they're everywhere. Every merchant ship, every trading post, every seemingly primitive human outpost. They were all watching, all gathering intelligence." Vexkar's upper arms clenched into fists while his lower ones adjusted his command insignia, a nervous habit he'd never quite overcome. "How did we not see this? Our empire has subjugated dozens of species. Our methods are perfect." "Clearly not," a new voice interrupted. The chamber's security system sparked and died as a holographic projection of Admiral Chen materialized in their secure bunker, light years from her actual location. "Your methods were predictable, and prediction is the first step toward defeat." In the void of space, the CSS Nightshade led a fleet of revealed human warships through the wreckage of the latest battle. Unlike the initial confrontation, this hadn't been about demonstration. It had been about dismantling the Zarkax's ability to wage war. "Status of the Quantum Archive download?" Sarah asked, her eyes scanning tactical readouts only she could see through her neural interface. Lieutenant Park's fingers danced across his console. "Complete, Admiral. We've extracted the location of every Zarkax military installation, weapons facility, and command center. More importantly, we have their entire historical database." Sarah allowed herself a grim smile. This had always been part of the plan, not just defeating the Zarkax, but understanding them, learning from their mistakes to ensure humanity never followed the same path. "Commander Rodriguez," she called, "begin Phase 3. Signal the sleeper cells." Across Zarkax space, hidden quantum transmitters activated. In shipyards, maintenance bays, and military bases, seemingly primitive human technological components, installed over years of inferior trade deals, revealed their true nature. Quantum fields expanded, disabling weapons, scrambling communications, and paralyzing the Empire's military infrastructure. "You see, Supreme Overlord." Sarah's hologram continued in the command chamber. While you were studying our apparent weaknesses, we were threading quantum-entangled processors through every piece of technology we sold you. Your empire's foundation rests on our carefully placed instruments of its dismantling." Vexcar lunged from his throne, all four arms reaching for weapons that no longer functioned. "You dare." "We dare because we must." Sarah cut him off. "Your empire's philosophy of might makes right, of technological superiority equating to moral authority, ends today. But unlike you, we're not here to conquer." On the Nightshade's bridge, Sarah nodded to Commander Rodriguez. Throughout occupied space, human quantum fields began to shift. But instead of destroying Zarkak's technology, they were transforming it. Weapons of war became tools of peace, engines of destruction converted to generators of life. What are you doing?" Vexcar demanded, watching as his empire's military might transformed before his eyes. "We're showing you a better way," Sarah replied. "Your ships can no longer bombard planets, but they can now terraform dead worlds. Your weapons can't destroy cities, but they can build them. This is true power, the power to create rather than destroy." Lieutenant Park's voice carried a note of satisfaction as he reported, "Quantum conversion at 60% and rising, Admiral. The Nilari defense systems are online, and the other subjugated species are reporting successful liberation of their territories." The plan had worked perfectly. Humanity hadn't just prepared for war, they had prepared for peace. Every piece of technology, every tactical decision, had been designed not just to defeat the Zarkaks, but to transform them. "You have a choice, Supreme Overlord," Sarah continued. "Your empire can adapt, learn to coexist, to truly uplift rather than subjugate. Or..." She let the threat hang unspoken as quantum fields shimmered around the command chamber, a reminder of humanity's overwhelming technological advantage. Vexcar, his mighty empire crumbling around him, slumped back into his throne. For the first time in his life, he felt something his species had never taught him to feel: humility. "How?" he whispered. "How did you advance so far without us noticing?" Sarah's hologram smiled. "Because we remembered our own history. Humanity spent millennia fighting itself, developing weapons of unimaginable destruction. But we learned from those dark times. We realized that true advancement isn't just about technology. It's about wisdom. About knowing when to show power and when to show mercy." Around them, the quantum conversion continued, reshaping the instruments of empire into tools of cooperation. The galaxy was changing, and for the first time in centuries, it was changing for the better. "Welcome," Sarah concluded, "to a new era of galactic civilization. One built not on domination, but on understanding. Not on fear, but on hope. The question is, Supreme Overlord, are you ready to be part of it?" The great hall of the Galactic Assembly hummed with tension as representatives from 100 species gathered to witness something unprecedented: the formal surrender of the Zarkak's empire. Supreme Overlord Vexcar stood before the assembled delegates, his once proud armor now modified with quantum-integrated peace markings, a visible symbol of his empire's transformation. Admiral Sarah Chen watched from humanity's podium, her dress uniform adorned with the simple insignia of Earth's united fleet. The past month had seen more change in the galaxy than the previous 1,000 years combined. "The terms are simple," she announced to the assembly. "The Zarkak's empire will release all subjugated worlds. Their transformed military assets will be used to rebuild what they destroyed. And most importantly, they will join the new galactic cooperative we are establishing today." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. A Nilari representative, their crystalline form shimmering with cautious hope, raised a questioning appendage. "And what guarantees do we have that they will honor these terms? That this is not merely another deception?" Sarah nodded to Lieutenant Park, who activated the quantum field generators. The air above the assembly shimmered as a vast holographic display materialized, showing the transformed Zarkak ships now engaged in restoration projects across the galaxy. The same quantum technology that allowed us to disable their weapons, Sarah explained, now ensures they can only be used for peaceful purposes. But more than that, she turned to face Vexkar directly. The Zarkax have learned something their empire never taught them: the price of arrogance. Vexkar stepped forward, his posture revealing an unfamiliar humility. "My people," he began, voice carrying across the chamber, "believe that technological superiority gave us the right to rule. We were wrong. The humans could have destroyed us. Instead, they showed us a better path." Commander Rodriguez, standing at Sarah's side, brought up another holographic display. This one showed the quantum mesh network now spanning the galaxy, connecting all species in a web of shared knowledge and resources. "The quantum technology we developed," Sarah continued, "was never meant to be a weapon. It was designed to bridge gaps, to connect rather than divide. Yes, we used it to stop the Zarkax aggression, but its true purpose is to ensure no species ever needs to face the challenges of space alone again." The assembly watched in amazement as the display showed the first fruits of this cooperation: worlds being restored, civilizations rebuilding, and new technologies emerging from the synthesis of different species' knowledge. "We hid our true capabilities," Sarah acknowledged, "not out of fear, but because we needed to understand the true nature of the threat to galactic peace." The Zarkax Empire was a symptom of a larger problem: the belief that advancement must come at the cost of others. A representative from a newly liberated world stood up. "And what prevents humanity from becoming what the Zarkax were? You possess power we can barely comprehend." Sarah smiled. "Because we remember. Earth's history is filled with empires that rose and fell, with civilizations that thought themselves invincible. We learned that true strength lies not in domination, but in cooperation. The quantum mesh doesn't just connect our ships and technology. It connects our stories, our histories, our understanding." The display shifted to show Earth's own turbulent history: wars, environmental disasters, near extinctions, and finally, unity. "We advanced not because we were superior, but because we faced our own darkness and chose a different path." Vexkar moved to stand beside her, a gesture that would have been unthinkable months ago. "My empire's fall will serve as a reminder to future generations, but perhaps our transformation can serve as something more: proof that change is possible, that even the proudest can learn humility." The quantum mesh pulsed with new energy as more species joined the network, sharing their knowledge, their culture, their hopes for the future. The gallery of representatives watched as their combined understanding spawned new innovations, new solutions to age-old problems. "The price of arrogance," Sarah concluded, "is not just defeat. It's the weight of knowing how much was lost to pride, how many opportunities for growth and cooperation were squandered. But today we begin anew." The assembly chamber filled with the soft glow of quantum fields as representatives from every species activated their connection to the shared network. They could feel it: the birth of something new, something better than empire or dominion. "Together," Sarah declared, "we will build something that will last, not because of force or fear, but because it uplifts all of us. The age of empires is over. The age of cooperation begins." 5 years after the transformation of the Zarkax Empire, Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck of the newly commissioned Galactic Cooperative Headquarters, watching ships from dozens of species moving through the quantum-stabilized space lanes. Among them, she spotted a former Zarkax warship, its weapons arrays now converted into atmospheric purification systems, working alongside Nilari vessels to restore a damaged planet. Quite a view, isn't it? Lieutenant Park, now Ambassador Park, joined her at the window. "Sometimes I still can't believe how much has changed." Sarah nodded, her reflection ghosting against the transparent quantum crystal viewport. "Change was always inevitable. We just had to make sure it was the right kind of change." The quantum mesh that spanned the galaxy had evolved beyond its original design. What began as a tool for humanity to monitor and counter the Zarkax had become the nervous system of a new galactic society. Through it, species that once fought now shared knowledge, resources, and understanding. Admiral. Commander Rodriguez's voice came through her neural link. The Council is ready for your address. Sarah turned from the window, straightening her uniform. In the grand chamber below, representatives from every known spacefaring species had gathered for the 5th anniversary of the Cooperative's founding. Even former Supreme Overlord Vexkar was there, though he now bore the simple title of representative. As she took her place at the podium, Sarah felt the weight of history. The quantum mesh connected everyone in the room, allowing them to share not just words, but emotions, context, understanding. It was impossible to maintain prejudice or superiority when you could literally feel another species' perspective. 5 years ago, she began, her words carrying through both air and quantum link. We stood at a crossroads. Humanity had developed technology that could have made us the new empire, the new conquerors. We chose a different path. The quantum display above her showed scenes from the past 5 years. Former enemies working together to solve cosmic challenges. Ancient knowledge being shared and built upon. New discoveries that would have been impossible without cooperation. The Zarkax believed that advancement was linear, that species could be ranked by their technological achievements. We knew different. Earth's history taught us that true progress isn't about who has the biggest ships or the most powerful weapons. It's about who we become along the way. Through the quantum mesh, the assembled representatives could feel the truth of her words, could access humanity's long and troubled history of learning these lessons the hard way. Look around you, Sarah continued. The quantum technology that could have been the ultimate weapon has become the foundation of understanding. The same fields that disabled warships now power hospitals. The networks we built to gather intelligence now share knowledge that benefits all. She gestured to where Vexakar sat among former subject species, all of them linked by the mesh. We've learned from each other. The Zarkax have taught us about the dangers of pride. The Nilari have shared their art of planetary healing. Every species brings something unique, something vital to our shared future. The quantum display shifted to show the frontier of known space, where cooperative exploration vessels were pushing the boundaries of understanding. But our greatest achievement isn't technological. It's that we've created something new, a civilization where strength comes from diversity, where advancement serves all, where the only empire is one of shared knowledge and mutual respect. Through the mesh, every being in the chamber could feel the truth of these words. They could access the combined knowledge of 100 species, could understand the perspectives of ancient enemies, could see the potential of their united future. Humanity's greatest weapon was never our quantum technology, Sarah concluded. It was our memory of being both conqueror and conquered, of learning that true power lies not in domination but in the choice to use strength wisely. We remembered, we learned, and we chose to break the cycle. The quantum mesh pulsed with shared emotion as her words resonated through the assembly. In that moment, they weren't separate species but part of something greater, a civilization that had learned to rise above its past. This is not the end of our journey, Sarah said, her voice carrying the weight of both history and hope. It's the beginning of something we can only achieve together. The stars await, not as territory to be claimed, but as mysteries to be explored. Not as battlefields for empire, but as gardens for growth. As she concluded her speech, the quantum mesh shimmered with possibility. In orbit above them, ships of former enemies now worked together, their combined technology reaching for new frontiers. The age of empires was truly over. The future belonged to all of them, together.